Well, now that it's graduation season, families across the country are celebrating. But as students transition from high school to college, they should also be preparing, including vaccinating against meningitis. Now, here to discuss, Dr. Len Friedland from GSK, along with meningitis survivor and para-athlete Jamie Schanbaum. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Of course. Jamie, we'll get to your very personal story in just a bit. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Friedland, first, what is meningitis, specifically meningococcal?
Well, thank you, Alex. We're talking about a uncommon but potentially life-threatening illness caused by a bacteria, which is called Neisseria meningitidis. That's a long word. We'll just call it meningitis for short. There's actually 5 different groups of this bacteria that cause disease. And today we have 2 different types of vaccines to help provide protection against all 5 of these vaccine-preventable groups of meningitis. The disease starts very nonspecifically, cold-like symptoms, flu. People just think they're just not feeling well. But very rapidly, within hours, people start to feel very, very sick with lots of weakness, nausea, vomiting, difficulty breathing. If they're developing meningitis with neck stiffness, if they develop sepsis like Jamie had, just extreme weakness, lots of feeling cold. And then quickly, on average 19 hours, adolescents, young adults will present to the doctor, where they're then fighting for their lives on their way to the ICU, on a ventilator, on blood pressure support. We have 1 in 10 people will die from this illness, and of those who survive, 1 in 5 will be left with lifelong complications. And so this is a bacterial disease that comes on very rapidly, and the best way to manage this is actually to prevent it, and that's through vaccination with 2 different types of vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and certainly, you know, as I was saying, as kids go off to college, they're more at risk to be, you know, around these types of diseases. But Jamie, you know, you are a survivor, like I said at the top. What has your experience been like? What was it like with meningitis?
It was not good. Yeah, so my experience wasn't very fun. So my symptoms started by hour 1. I was fine, not really feeling well. Hour 14, I was freezing, couldn't walk, very weak. My body was hurting all over. I was vomiting, not keeping anything in. And it was terrible. And then I knew I had to go to the hospital. And by the time I got there, I couldn't walk anymore. It's the last time I was able to stand and use my legs, actually. And within the first couple of days, I was on the ventilator and dialysis. And then for the next few weeks, I was in a semi-medicated coma where I watched my limbs. I would wake up from time to time, and I would see my limbs turn from red rash to purple to black to decaying and dead. And I didn't get my amputations for a few months. So I had to see my body like this for a few months. And I felt and looked like a statue in a bed. Like I just could not move. But yeah, I did not know meningitis could do this. It was crazy. It all happened so fast. And more importantly, it could have been prevented.
Right.
And all I'm saying is that if you're listening, you know, I hope you don't take this lightly. Talk to your doctor. Talk about the vaccines that are available, because let me just say, it was a nightmare experience to wake up and realize that this was your reality. It was very difficult, and I had no idea what life would be like. But luckily I was able to, you know, put my legs on and march forward and do so much more with my life than I ever thought I could have imagined. So, but nonetheless, not everyone gets that opportunity, and I'm just happy to do it for those who don't, because I didn't know anything about meningitis. Here, if you're listening, call your doctor, reach out, make an appointment about the 2 different vaccines you need to get before going to school to protect yourself from meningitis, and more information at meningitis.com.
extremely.
Yeah, it was a terrible situation.
It was extremely sobering words from your real experience, Jamie. First of all, I commend you so much for your strength and not only for going through that, but of course sharing your story with us. But you didn't let it define you. You became a para-athlete, and it's just incredible what you've been able to do to overcome that. So thank you both so much for joining us. It's a very important message to get out there for everybody listening. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Alex.
Absolutely. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back.